everyone, to the Practical Church Podcast. My name is Dylan Dotson, and this podcast is all about helping you plant and grow healthy churches. Today, I'm going to share with you 7 ways to improve your Sunday experience without spending any more money, which is great. Better result, no more money spent. So 7 ways to improve your Sunday experience is happening on this episode. And speaking of saving money, as always, this show is brought to you in partnership with Mission Support. They know that you want to be effective in ministry and you've got a lot of things going on. And in my opinion, it's not so much that you have a lot of things going on, that part of your job and your role as a ministry leader is doing things that you're not gifted at, skilled at, or enjoy, which is a real big drain on your energy. So whether it's things like SEO, payroll, administration, websites, graphics, videos, a whole host of things that you might not enjoy, head to missionsupport.com today, talk to a guide, and see how you can enjoy being in ministry again. Great thing about Mission Support is they don't lock you into any long-term contracts for any of their services, so you can use them as long as you find it effective and beneficial. So check out our partner, missionsupport.com today. And now let's get into today's episode. All right, 7 ways to improve your Sunday experience. So this is specifically having to do with Sunday morning to make the experience better for people, again, without spending more money. Now, this first one is something that I talk about from time to time. And to be honest, it is quite surprising to me how few churches actually do this. And I was hanging out with a group of like 7 pastors the other week, and New Cities was not the biggest one there. There's some that are bigger than us, and we were the only one that were doing this thing. The only one. So here it is. Number 1, here's a way to improve your Sunday experience. Do a service run through. Like actually run through your entire service as you're going to actually do it. And here's what I mean, man. Like so often, the band practices the songs. They might talk through the transitions, but they don't do it. The announcements and next steps, which I'll talk about in the next point, those aren't practiced. And so again, like I'm around pastors a lot and they talk about how like this is the most awkward part of their service. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. And here's my thing with doing a service run through. There are things that happen, obviously, every Sunday that you cannot control. But there are things that you can control. And then we get frustrated at mistakes or miscues or whatever, distraction parts of the service, things that didn't go well, that could have gone well, if you had done a run through. So I just want to say, doing a service run through, actually doing it. Now, here's how we do it at New City. Currently, we're at 10 o'clock service. For us, I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but just like how it works. For us, we start at about 8:50. So for us, the band comes in and they go through, they do 1 song for sound check because they've already practiced on Wednesday night. And then we talk through the service. That takes about 5 minutes. So we talk through the transition of the service and then we run it. So we run the countdown. The band has to practice what they're going to say. The person who's doing announcements has to practice what they're going to say during the actual run through. When it comes to the sermon, I don't preach the sermon, but I go through all of my notes to make sure that the slides match my notes, and we try to fix typos. Now, again, you know how this works. You could look at a screen 30 times and there's no typo, and then it shows up during the service. So I'm not going to say it's going to fix everything, but it will fix a lot of things. And then after that, we practice the transition from me next to the worship or going back into communion, depending on what's happening that week. And then all the way to the end, because the person who does our next steps, which is what we call announcements, they also close the service as well. And everybody has to do their whole thing as if it's the real service, except for the sermon, because that would take forever. And we just talk through each of the points, make sure that they match up on the slides, and I can tell the screen person any notes that they need to know. Do a service run through. To be honest, if you don't listen to the rest of this episode, do that. Man, even if it's like you're just a church plant, you're just starting, you got 1 guitar player and it's just you, or 1 musician, you, 1 person doing announcements, you want to get to the habit of this is what we do. This is what we do. I also want to just mention the announcements thing as well. Is this is a big make or break, it can be a big make or break for new people as to whether or not they're going to fill out a Connect card. Because oftentimes, at least if you listen to this show, talk about how important it is, how we mention it every single week. And if it's awkward or it takes forever, it just isn't helpful. So I want to say this too, we also don't just let anybody do announcements anymore. We have 4 or 5 people that we rotate through. And every once in a while, we'll ask someone to do it, maybe to add some people to the rotation. And if it's kind of awkward, not great. Now, the first couple of times, it's always a little awkward for somebody, once they get used to it. But if it's not apparent that this is going to be good, we don't schedule them again. And to be honest, the biggest difference between those who do well and those who don't do well are those who actually practice beforehand. So, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But our expectation is like, hey, you show up on Sunday. This is not the first time you've run it. Like you've run Next Steps at your house by yourself so that it's clear, it makes sense. It's not like this awkward, I don't know what I'm going to say. So all I to say, do a service run through. Please, please, please. It's like the easiest thing to make your service go smoother. And so many churches don't do it. Now, part of the reason, in my opinion, churches don't do it is because in order to make a run through happen, you have to be on top of time. So like the band has to show up at a certain time, production has to show up at a certain time. They've got to like get everything plugged in, do their sound check, whatever, and you've got to like stay on top of it. For me, that's what I did for the longest time. I was like, hey guys, we got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. Let's keep going. You feel kind of like a jerk, but it's necessary. Now it's just the rhythm. It's the expectation. Everybody knows, but it makes for a better experience, to be honest, for everybody who's serving as well, because they know exactly what to expect. And it looks like, hey, we're prepared for this. So I would just say, man, like do a service run through at least an hour before your service. Our goal is to be done with the run through by 9:30, 9:35-ish. Sometimes I got to like fix a few things after run through, but that by 9:40 at the latest, the band is done. Everyone's out of the auditorium. Like we're ready to welcome people in. We're not doing like sound check run through at 9:55 as people are walking in, or like keeping the doors closed until right before service because we haven't got things figured out. So make sure people are getting there on time. You might have to put up the time a little bit more. And I just want to say this too, like people want to be challenged. People want a bar to like a goal to shoot for. And so it's just a better experience. And honestly, it's a better experience as new people join the team, whether they do your announcements or whether they play in the band or serve in production. Like here are the expectations and here's how it looks every single week. So this is probably the best for first, right? The best way to improve your Sunday experience is to do a service run through. So few churches, even in my opinion, like churches that 300, 400, 500 people, they don't do it. And then I hear like the complaints of like, hey, this was awkward, man. Our service flow is not good. And I'm just like, man, there are some things you cannot control, but the things that you can control, like you should do it as best as possible. So do a service run through. And if that's not your skill set or gifting of like, I don't know, staying on top of time and like getting people in place, have someone else be in charge of it. But someone needs to be making charge of doing a service run through. Again, this is helpful too, because not only does it make the transitions and everybody know how it's going to work, it's also good for screens. So if there's a typo in the worship, or if there's something that's out of order, or if there's a slide that's wrong for the announcements, or there's a typo again in the sermon slides, or something needs to be added or whatever, like you're not figuring it out during the service and like people figuring out what we're supposed to do. So it's good for everybody. It's good for the sound person to know when to mute, unmute. Good for the screens person, lights person, if you do that, to know when the cues are. It's good for the team, the band, to know their cues and when they're transitioning, when they're getting on, off stage. It's good for the preacher. It's good for the next steps. Anyone who's doing anything on stage, it's good for everyone. So, and you don't need a lot of money to do it. You can start, it's free 99. So do a service run through. I honestly I don't know. I could not recommend it enough. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but in my experience, definitely more churches don't do a run through than do a run through. And I'm like, this is a free change that you can make your Sunday experience better. I think, as a side note, and I'll go to the next point, I think part of it is like you just maybe resigned yourself to knowing that, hey, announcements are going to be awkward, or the transitions like aren't going to be great, and that doesn't have to be the case. That does not have to be the case. It actually can be better, believe it or not, if you do a service run through. That was number one. Number two, going with the service, again, send your announcements out ahead of time. So to the person who is doing your announcements, you should send it out ahead of time. So at New City, I send out we call them Next Steps every Thursday. I've got a little reminder in my Todoist of what the next steps are and the main things they need to communicate. Now, of course, they can say extra things and, make it, bring some humor, share a personal story, whatever. But here are like the 3 or 4 things, always starting with a Connect card, of course. And I kind of tell them, here are the things I want to communicate, like a couple of maybe like 2 to 3 sentences for each one. And then they can add whatever they want. But that way they're not showing up on Sunday being like, well, what am I supposed to say? And this helps us know, like, did you actually prepare? So again, we've had people that we no longer ask or have people do next steps because it became very apparent that they didn't prepare. And man, if you don't prepare and you're winging it on stage, like, man, it's just like, that ain't helpful and it's not good. And you can kind of tell when you're on stage and you're not really sure what you're doing because you're kind of nervous. Again, because most people, unless they're on church staff or whatever, preach regularly, most people don't, public speak normally. And so unless they're prepared, like, it's going to be awkward. So if you're listening to this and you preach regularly, you're like, well, I don't really have to prepare. I could just wing it. I still would not recommend that, but you could get away with it in a way that's probably not awkward, where the average person cannot because they haven't developed the skill of public speaking. So send your announcements ahead of time, right? So that during the run through, they actually know what to say. Now, again, for us, I just want to say this. We also limit a little bit who does announcements because we don't want them to be awkward. And it's important for us to get Connect cards. So I want to say that. Also, they got to prepare. So those two things are like, send them out ahead of time, how to prepare, and then like, don't just let anyone do them. Have people that actually want to do it or have shown an ability to do it or desire to do it that aren't awkward on stage. And yeah. So even, because I want to say this too, some people do prepare and they're still just not good at them. And so obviously that's the thing too. But I was just like, hey, be cautious. And if you see someone, I think you'd be good at this. My experience too, like most people won't ask to do next steps. So you gotta like pull it out of them. It's like, hey, I think you could be good at this. Most people don't want to do it. They're good. As honestly, the people that don't want to do it are the people that are better for it because you know that they're going to prepare. So that makes it helpful. But send your announcements out ahead of time to the person doing them. That's a second thing to do to save money, to improve your Sunday experience that costs no money, that a lot of churches simply don't do. Or they might just simply say, here are the announcements, and don't tell them what to say. So that's not helpful either. Like, I want you to try to say these things, or here are the main information that you need to get across. Again, send out your announcements, a brief blurb of what they want to say ahead of time. Oh yeah, I was thinking too. So what we do as well, our next step person comes up, they're always holding a Connect card because that's the first thing they mention, and it's just helpful to say, hey, this Connect card. I mean, we have an image of it on our screens, but it's like, hey, in the seat back in front of you or the seat beneath you, this Connect card, or wherever you have them. And then on the back of the Connect card, what they typically do, pretty much all of them do this, is they have like one or two sticky notes. Well, they'll notate the announcements, the order, and give themselves any notes as well. So because you can look at a Connect card and like the back of it and it doesn't feel like what are you looking at. So that's like a little cheat sheet way as well. It's like, hey, give them the Connect card, put a sticky note on the back, and just like remind them here the order so that they have a little cheat sheet for them while they are doing it. But please send your announcements out ahead of time. Give them a blurb of what to say, and it will go better. Number 3, third way to improve your Sunday experience is to clean your parking lot. Now, hear me. This is whether or not you own or rent the building or you're there just on Sundays, you should clean it. Now, some places, this might not be a big deal. A place like ours, so like as I'm recording this right now, we still have our own space, although in about a month, we are moving portable. We're going to middle school. Our space right now is next to a gas station and a McDonald's. People leave their trash out. And so every Sunday morning, we pick up the trash. In fact, that's typically one of the things that I do because I don't know why, just like doing it. It's good for me. So I go around with a little scooper or like a trash picker upper and a trash can. When we move to the school, we're going to do the same thing. Now, I imagine their parking lot's probably not going to be as trash filled as this one. But still, like, that matters. And when people get out of their car, especially if they're new, it does communicate something. Now, again, I would say this is more important if you have your own space than if you're renting a space, because people might be a little bit more lenient knowing like, hey, this isn't your space. But still, it matters. And so clean your parking lot, whether or not it's your location or not. Again, we just have like a little picker-upper thing. I don't know, whatever they call it. You press a button and it picks it up. It's like 3 feet long. And a trash can, we just go around and throw stuff away. And so, especially near the entrance or just the parking lot area, the obvious things that people will see, it just kind of communicates like, hey, we expect you to be here, or hey, like, we don't really care what the parking lot looks like. So, number 3, clean your parking lot of trash. It does not need to take a long time at all, but I would just like make it as part of your Sunday checklist, however you do your setup or whoever's in charge of it. Make sure we're going out and clean the parking lot so that it does not look trashy. Number 3. Number 4, I feel like, again, this is one that churches sometimes hit, sometimes miss. Number 4 is have a new guest gift that people actually want. So have a new guest gift that people actually want. So again, nobody wants your church swag. Nobody wants a church coffee mug. Shirts are nice. They're kind of expensive. So in my opinion, that's kind of a waste. Nobody wants like the church anything because they've never been before. They don't know if they're coming back. They're not invested. They're not engaged. They don't know if they like you. So like it doesn't do anything. Give them things they actually want. What we have done for years is Chick-fil-A gift cards. So that's what we've done. It's been the best thing by far. We've done Starbucks as well. The thing about Starbucks is like not everybody drinks coffee. I think I've mentioned this before. One time we had someone who really likes Bojangles like buy us a bunch of Bojangle gift cards, which by the way taught us 2 things. One, people prefer Chick-fil-A because like we were still running out of all the Chick-fil-A ones and hardly ever giving away the Bojangle ones. But also 2, people don't want options. So when we said you could have a Bojangle or Chick-fil-A gift card, it was kind of like, well, I don't know. What you tell me what to get, and then they would eventually pick Chick-fil-A. So I would just say, for those of you that you say, hey, you have a gift and it could be X or Y, people don't want options. Just tell them exactly what they can get. Now, so I would do that. I would do something that everybody wants. So for us, Chick-fil-A works great. If you have maybe like a local coffee shop or something that near you that's like a staple of your community or town, that could work great. But I'm just saying, like church swag, nobody really cares about. Even like Bibles or devotionals, like they're great, but they're not like No one's filling out a Connect card for that. Now, if you want to couple that with a Chick-fil-A gift card or something that people want, I think that's great. But as a standalone thing, I would just say have a guest gift that people actually want. And yeah, there are people sometimes who literally only fill out the Connect card because they want the $10 Chick-fil-A gift card. That's fine. It happens. But there are also people that I know helps push them over the line. This was interesting. I might like this church, but Chick-fil-A, who's going to say no to Chick-fil-A? I'll take it, and I'll just unsubscribe from their emails or whatever. I'm sure that happens as well, but at least they thought about it. So I would just say, have a guest gift people actually want, and then communicate it every single week, and also put it on your slide. And so you can say what the gift is, but make sure your person says hey, you fill this Connect card out, and our wordage at New City is we'll trade this filled out Connect card, because we do want them to fill it out. We don't just give them away anymore. They have to fill out a Connect card. This filled out Connect card for a Chick-fil-A gift card. So tell people, if people don't know that they get some sort of gift, then it's not helpful to incentivize them to actually fill it out. So I will say this, you're well, we don't do a gift right now, and if you do $10 Chick-fil-A gift card, that potentially adds up. Yeah, but the return on the investment doesn't matter. I mean, you get one new person who connects to your church. I mean, that'll pay for your Chick-fil-A gift cards for a year, or maybe two new people. It's not, the ROI on it is not, it's worth it, I should say. It's more than worth it. Spending $10 for each new guest that fills out a Connect card, it's worth it. So definitely worth the investment that it would take. Just do something that people actually want. And again, $5 gift cards don't really cut it anymore because that doesn't pay for anything. So you don't want them going, hey, I got this $5 Chick-fil-A gift card, and then I still have to pay the difference. No, man, we got you covered at New City Church. So number 4, have a new guest gift that people actually want. Number 5, again, going back to announcements, 3 to 4 announcement maximum. So again, one of the other complaints, I heard this a couple weeks ago from another pastor, is not only is it awkward and takes a long time, not only is it awkward, but it takes a long time because there's so many things that people want to announce. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're a church leader at your church, you get to decide how many announcements there are. You get to set the parameters of what they are, and not everything gets announced, okay? At New City, this isn't that big of a frustration, although it has been for a couple of people, but it's just it is what it is. We do what we do. At New City, here's our rule: 3 to 4 things, 4 announcements maximum, which includes the Connect card. Our next steps moment at New City takes 2 to 3 minutes max. It does not take a long time. It is not awkward. It's relatively quick. So that's our thing. Our rules are this: we don't announce anything that's more than 3, maybe 4 weeks away, depending on how big it is. But we've just found when you say it so many times, nobody listens, and nobody's going to do anything until it gets closer anyway. And we've got all the areas. We've got the website. We've got our weekly email we send out. We put upcoming events in our bathrooms. Do we do all church text messages when appropriate? We announce the things, but not everything needs to be announced from stage. So number 1, it has to be soon, unless it's something like Christmas or Easter or New City's moving. So we've been talking about that every single week because that's a very significant piece of information. But number 1, it can't be something that's happening 4 months from now. Unless it's something with a deadline, maybe you got a kids camp or whatever, and signups are due in May or April, and the camp is in June. Well, obviously you announce it before the sign up, but you don't keep announcing it over and over and over again. Number 1. Number 2, it has to, for pretty much without exception, apply to the majority of our congregation. So, we don't announce the random, hey, this get together is happening, or this small thing is happening. At our church, anybody can do anything. We're not going to announce it. We don't always announce, if we have a men's gathering or a women's gathering, we'll announce it depending on if there are other announcements to announce, if that makes sense. So if we don't have a lot of things coming up, then we'll announce a men's gathering or women's gathering. Otherwise, we might not. The thing about it too is the biggest reason people come is personal invitation. It's not a stage announcement. So a lot of times people think, well, if you just announce it from stage, everybody will come to my thing. And we've done that too in the past. It doesn't work like that. If it's not an interesting, engaging thing, the stage announcement's not going to push the needle. It's just for things that apply to everybody. So again, our rule is can't be more than 3 weeks away unless there's an exception thing, and it has to apply to the majority of our people, unless it's a slower announcement week or 2, and we can fit it in without going over a lot of things, and we want to push it. So that sort of thing. So if it's not a church event, or if it's an event that somebody at your church is doing, but it's not a church event, you don't have to announce it. I would be clear with people too, hey, here's our criteria for what makes the stage announcements. To be honest, most people don't That's not what pushes the needle for it anyway. And so we just don't want to have like a list of like 7 things we're going to do every week. Take 10 minutes, have it be awkward. And then nobody listens anyway. Like if you got like the awkward long announcement thing happen at your church, people are tuning out anyway. They're not even listening. The benefit of having 3 to 4 announcements every week and having it tight is that you haven't lost people's attention, and they know like the things that you're going to say are probably going to be relevant to them in some way. So that being said, 3 to 4 announcements maximum, things that are happening relatively soon, and we do not announce everything. That can help you shorten the time. And then, of course, make it easier during your run-through to run through the announcements, and when you email your next step person during the week to tell them what they are, that's not a massively long email. That was number 5, ways to improve your Sunday experience without spending more money. 3 to 4 maximum. Now, number 6, this one I lied. This one does cost a little bit of money, but it will improve your Sunday experience, and that is adding signage. So I was 6/7 correct without spending more money. This one is spending a little bit more money, but it's important to add signage. Here's my philosophy on signage. It should be like an airport in your building where, like an airport, you don't have to ask for help if you don't want to, but you can. So depending on your layout and everything, like it needs to be obvious where to go. Now for us, includes our parking lot. We've got parking signs. Here's where I go. We also have someone in the parking lot, but we have parking signs. Our current setup, it's pretty obvious in our lobby where everything is. So our signage is relatively minimal because it's like very obvious. Although we have something over the auditorium, we have something over the restrooms, and over each of the kids' rooms, it says like their birth, the ages of the kids for that kids' room. On our new space, at the school, it's going to be a little bit bigger, and so we've ordered a bunch of signs. So again, it says, here's the restrooms, because it's not going to be as obvious in our new space. Here's the auditorium. Here's the New City Kids check-in. And it's just like pointing people where to go. And it starts in the parking lot. So I would do like an airport. Nobody wants to feel dumb or stupid. And again, for some people, going to a church for the first time is a really big deal. And they don't want to draw extra attention to it or feel dumb or feel like, well, I'm the only one that doesn't know anything. And so I ask a question, maybe they'll make fun of me, that sort of thing. So I would just say, have very clear signage. And then of course, absolutely, people can ask questions if they want, but don't make them have to guess. I think the couple of big things are parking. Am I in the right spot? So if it's not obvious, parking attendant and the parking lot, maybe not to park them, but let them know they're in the right spot, or flags or signage. And then kids, like where do I bring my kids? You don't want people guessing and wondering like, what do I do with this? That's not helpful. And it kind of communicates like, hey, we don't expect new people like you to show up, which is not a comforting sign to new parents, especially if they're brand new to church and they're like, I don't know what's going on. So number 6, add signage. That one does cost some money, but it doesn't have to be extravagant and big. But like make it very clear. Here's where all the things are that you might want to know where they are. And then last but not least, number 7 is to have a pre-service huddle. Now you can call it, I don't know, different things. I just mean like with your serve team. So obviously production and your band, you've done a run through already. So they're good. But like for your first impression team or hospitality and your kids, like they should come a little bit early and you should talk through expectations for the day, upcoming announcements so that they know what's going on, and then share some wins and then give them a little bit of inspiration about why it matters what they do. So have a pre-service huddle. Now, here's what's hard about like a huddle for like first impressions or New City or your kids ministry. That's different than if you're like set up, tear down in the band or production. So if you're portable church, set up, tear down, or in band or production, it's kind of like if you show up late, it kind of impacts everybody. So you're kind of like, like I got to be on time, otherwise people got to wait for me. That's not necessarily the case for the huddle. Here's what happens though with the huddle, with things we've experienced at New City, is that if some people start to show up late, it devalues the importance of the huddle for everybody, and it makes everyone else wonder like, why do I come early? Like, why should I have to come early if they come right before the huddle ends and then they just go to their post? And so one of the changes we are making at New City as we move into our new space, because again, it's easy to make big changes when you're moving, is we are communicating to our people going forward that if you cannot make the huddle on time, which for us, it's going to be, especially because the middle school is bigger layout than our current thing, they have to arrive to church at 9:20, huddle starts at 9:25. And then you're at your position at 9:40. If you can't get there at the time that huddle begins, we are going to ask you not to serve, at least not in the season. So if you cannot come early, I mean, genuinely, that is okay. But what we don't want to do is take away from the experience from those that are coming early. Again, think about it this way. Like, if you've got someone who's coming to church for the first time, maybe a coworker you invited, someone you've prayed for years, like all of a sudden you really care. Like you want the music in the service to not be awkward. You want them to do a service run through. You want the kids' check-in experience to be, obvious and seamless. And you don't want someone who's like rushing to the door at 9:50 just to let you in and say, oh, hey, thanks for being here. Like you want someone who's engaged, knows what's going on, and is excited to be there. So I would just say, like, don't feel afraid to say, like, hey, this meeting is important, because if you don't place importance on it, inevitably people will show up, and then if you can't like find a way to stop it, it communicates this doesn't matter to everyone else. So that's one of the changes we're making when we move, is that if you want to serve New City kids or First Impressions, you have to show up on time. Because just like production and the setup team and the band has to show up on time, like it matters. We need you to be here. You need to be here. And it's genuinely okay if you can't come early. It's just not a season for you to serve. So at a pre-service huddle, again, upcoming events. So we share the things that we share during the next steps in case maybe some of the serve team people are going to miss it. We share some wins, maybe one or two stories of somebody who's come or some cool other thing that's happened. And then we share, why we're doing what we're doing. Maybe a verse, a passage, just a reminder of why this matters. And then they end, pray, go to their post. So, and for us, it's 9:45 at this space. It'll be 9:40, so it'll be 20 minutes before at our new location. Again, why I be there so early? It's because the people that are most likely to show up early are new people. And you don't want someone showing up new and things aren't ready to go. And plus, like, if your own people show up early, like, they might not care as much. Like, this is my church. It's okay if someone's not ready. But like for a new person, like it matters. And so you want to be on your post right away. That's really important. So pre-service huddle. So again, I'll just briefly recap them. 7 ways to improve your Sunday experience. Do a service run through. Number 1. Number 2, send announcements ahead of time to the person doing announcements. Number 3, a clean parking lot. Number 4, have a new guest gift people actually want. Number 5, 3 to 4 announcement maximum. Number 6, add signage. And number 7, have a pre-service huddle. Here's my observation for today's episode. It's this. Listen, people want to be challenged. You got to remember this, because I think sometimes we set the bar too low and then people don't do anything. And it's not because they don't want to do something. We've just set the bar too low. So again, it goes back to like the pre-service huddle. Like here's the bar. Let me give you another example. For our community group, right now, our community groups are in session. As I'm recording this, last week was the first week of our second session of the year. We basically told our group, and our group is a little bit, being in the pastor's group is a little bit different. I get that. And I basically said our group, here's one of the things that I need, especially because we've had a lot of changes in our group the last year, people coming and going and kind of wanted to reset some expectations. Here's one of the expectations for our group, at least to be in my group at New City Church, is that you have to show up pretty much every single week. So while groups are in session, it needs to be on your calendar. It can't be, hey, I'm tired, or I had a long week, or you have to be there unless you're out of town or you're like legitimately sick. Like if you legitimately can't be there, that's okay. And I told our people, listen, I'm not trying to give you here's how many you could miss, because, different scenarios might call for different things. And I'm not trying to be legalistic, but here's the deal. Our group will not go well if you don't show up every week. And it's not good for our group. It's also not good for you. It's hard to be vulnerable and to pray for one another with someone who only comes half the time. And you there's trust not there. It's not good for you because you can think that you got this spiritual practice when in reality it's not that helpful because you haven't prioritized it. And so I obviously told our group, listen, this is not the standard for all New City Church groups, but for our group, especially because our group's pretty, it's overly full, which is not what we want. We just said hey, to stay in our group going forward, especially in the fall, because we're going to move in the fall, we anticipate having to start new groups, all that sort of thing. For our group, what I need and what our group needs is for you to show up pretty much every single week. And if you can't, listen, that is okay. This is just not the group for you. Now, what's funny is, after I say that, nobody was and maybe when they left, they were upset. I don't know. But there was this excitement in the group that I said that. That's oh yeah, we're committed. We're in. And, that's helpful. That wasn't there if I hadn't said it. And so whether it's hey, to serve, here are the expectations, here's the time you got to show up, to be in a group, here's what it's got to look like. People want to be challenged and they will rise up to the occasion. Now, not everybody will, but more people than you think will, and they'll actually be excited about it, which is a big thing. They're not just going to show up because it's the right thing to do. They'll actually be excited about it. So I just reminder, my observation, people want to be challenged, so don't be afraid to do so. So here is this episode's personal growth tip. It is this, that we need more courage, not more information. What you need is not more information. What you need is more courage. Let me explain. Most of the time, we need more courage, not more information. For example, we know what we need to do to eat better. We know what we need to do to get better grades in school. We know what we need to do to attract more clients. You know what you need to do to perhaps preach better sermons, maybe your sermon prep routine. You know what you need to do a lot of these things. While we don't know everything, most of us know what we should do if we want to make progress on a goal. You might not know the best strategy, but you at least know something. And often, it's the courage to do so that is our bottleneck, not our information. One of the biggest reasons we don't try is fear of what people think. So will they think I'm a failure if it doesn't work out? Will they think I don't know what I'm doing? Or will they roll their eyes and think I have no shot at making it work? If I start this new initiative, plant this church, what are people going to think? And so here's one of the best pieces of advice when it comes to having courage to face our fears and to do the thing. One of the best pieces of advice I have heard about facing your fears of what people think is this. Instead of thinking about the proverbial they, think of individual people. So here's the reality. Most people have a lot going on in their lives, and they don't spend time thinking about other people that much. Most of the day is not about speaking or thinking about other people. And so instead of wondering what they will think if I do this, you should say, I wonder what Sam will think, or what John will think, or what will Lauren specifically think? Because here's what I found. When you break it down to the individual level, all of a sudden, they don't seem so scary. You see, at the end of the day, does it really matter if John doesn't think you can do it? Does it really matter if Lauren decides to unfollow you on Instagram because you decided to niche down on content that you share and she isn't interested in that content? Of course, this is not to say we shouldn't care at all about what others think. We should absolutely get advice. We should absolutely get feedback, but it should be from those closest to us and those whom we trust. Again, not the proverbial they. Most often, those people are going to support you because they want to see you succeed. And if nobody is supporting you in that endeavor, it might be because it's not wise. So again, to gain more courage, which is what you need, not more information, don't think about them. Go with the knowledge you already have and take your next step. Today's ministry question comes from the Practical Church Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, join the Practical Church group. If you're not in there, you can ask other like-minded ministry leaders questions that you have. This was the question that came recently. What platforms are you guys using for tracking ministry expenses, submitting receipts, etc.? So I'll just say what we do at New City Church. We use something called Bill. So if you simply Google Bill, Spend, and Expense, it's orange is I think the primary color now. Bill, Spend, and Expense. That's what we use. There are other options like that. And so instead of using it functions essentially like a debit card. You can put a spending limit on the cards that you give to each person. And the nice thing about Bill is they have an app and it's really built for organizations, nonprofits, businesses that are trying to keep track of expenses. And so when you have an expenses, at the end of the month, or you can do this every single week, you can link. I'm not the one that does this, so pardon me for maybe not explaining this perfectly well, but our QuickBooks account that's got all of our budget and everything is linked to our Bill account. And so when you go and you track your expenses, you can designate your expenses right in the app. So years ago, we used a Google spreadsheet. So I would input my expenses on Google spreadsheet. And then our operations guy would kind of put it into the budget. Now we use the app, and so I can go in and I can see here are all the expenditures that I haven't processed yet, or they haven't been assigned a thing yet. And so you can go in there and say, this is what it was. So you can make a note. You can take a picture of receipts if you need to do that. And then you can categorize it right there in the app. You also can do it on a desktop or a computer as well. We use Bill, Spend, and Expense. That's what we use. We found it really, really helpful for tracking ministry expenses, submitting receipts. It links right to your QuickBooks or whatever you use for your accounting software, and it makes it really simple. So I can go in. I've got a reminder at the end of the month, and to go in and do all of my expenses. And again, you got to work with however you do it on yours. Some of them I'll go ahead and categorize them in the Bill app itself, because this is what it was for. Some of them, if I'm not exactly sure the best place to go, you can leave a note. And so Brian, again, our operations director, will go in and read my note, and then he'll put it in the right place it's supposed to be. But that's what we use: Bill, Spend, and Expense, and it is what I would recommend. So as always, thank you so much for joining me today on the Practical Church podcast. If you want more from me, you can go to DylanDotson.com, specifically my Best Minute newsletter that goes out every week on Tuesdays, DylanDotson.com/best. We're in about 60 seconds. I help you build better habits, become more effective, and maximize your life. So if you like those personal productivity tips I do in these episodes, get some more from there. And of course, last but not least, don't forget Mission Support. Head to missionsupport.com today. Check out all of their services, websites, SEO, payroll, a lot of the stuff that's draining to you, and get some help. Missionsupport.com. Talk to a guy today. They can help you love being a pastor again. Thanks for joining us, and I'll be back with you in 2 weeks for another episode of the Practical Church Podcast.